Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. The past few days I've been looking at our land a little bit differently. As you guys have known, I have talked about how I'm not a big fan of the 2 acres that we have and how things are just sort of difficult to work with here. And I think honestly, I've been the one that's been difficult because I haven't wanted to truly and honestly listen to what the land had to tell me, what it was trying to show me, and what it was trying to do for me. In permaculture, they talk about how every time that there's a problem, the problem is actually the solution. So if you have very wet soil and you have a lot of slug problems, it's good to invest in ducks, which we have ducks for that reason. Plus, duck is delicious. Plus, I like them. They're cute. But anyways, getting sidetracked there. Then they start quacking and honking. My bad. Shouldn't have talked about them. So one of the things that I've complained a lot about at this property is how steep this hillside is. Where the woods are at, we have about 3/4 of an acre of our property is cleared, and it is relatively flat, but it is way downhill down there. And all the water runs off of the hillside. There's a bunch of springs that open up in the springtime, ironically, that then basically make that area down there stay very lush, very wet, very green. Great for growing things. Terrible for having goats. So we did not know when we bought the place that it was going to be as wet as it was. I just liked the varying topography, the price point, and the fact that we'd be getting out of a camper, which is very uncomfortable to live in with, 2 adult women and a teenage son. It is not comfortable. So I've complained and complained and complained about this property. But recently I've had a bit of a change of perspective, all because of thinking back in the past and remembering when another homesteader that I used to watch that only had 1.5 acres, this was back when we lived in town, they had announced that they wanted more land, and I kept looking at their videos and going, they're not even using what they have. Why are they seeking more land when they're not using what they have? And, cue looking in the mirror, and here we are. But so this area down in here, I can't do anything with this part of the property right in here. It is so heavily thick with blackberry bushes. You can't get in there to pick them. You can't walk through there. Even the deer don't go through here because it is just too thick. It is too dense. And it is a large area from here down to the barn, basically, is just nothing but a thicket of blackberries and a little bit of multiflora rose, which goats absolutely love. This is why I'm kind of like, why didn't I think about this sooner? But, I guess when you're busy complaining a lot, it's kind of hard to see the solution in front of you. So what I'm going to actually do over the next couple of weeks is actually work on creating a path through this area over in here that I can then work on running fencing to move Wilbur and Ferdinand up here because they are currently, which I don't think you guys will be able to see, right behind that tree there is where their hut is now in front of the barn. And like I said, it stays pretty wet down there and goats do not like that. So I'm going to run them up in here to give them a significantly larger pasture space. It also gets them on ground that is more compatible with goats. So they can do goat things of running up and down the hill and playing King of the Mountain and, working their own hooves down so we don't have to try to cut his hooves because that is very hard to do with the billy goat. Plus they smell pretty bad. And then you've got to wash your clothes and it's all bad. But anyways, so over in here, that's what I'm going to do over in here. I'm going to try to get this all done before the ground freezes because this is a lot of work, a lot of fencing to do. And to be quite honest, I don't even want to do it. It's going to be hard. I've dug in this soil some to dig up some blackberry plants to sell from that big thicket over in there. And it is pretty much a nightmare to dig in it. So it's going to be fun to put some fence posts up. But so I'm going to run them over to about here. So it's going to be probably 40, 50 feet wide and probably about the same, maybe 60 feet downhill, 70 feet, something like that. I don't know. I'm just going to go to where there's a natural little bit of a flattened out spots, and that's where I can build them a new house at. But so then this area over in here, I'm going to leave open for future endeavors, probably to fence in the future to put turkeys, grow out turkeys in there instead of letting them free range over the entire property, because why we butchered them a couple weeks early was because they started really terrorizing the ducks and started terrorizing a bunch of the young chickens because we had too many young teenage toms running around and they just kind of turned into a bunch of jerks. So this area over in here is potentially going to get reserved for that. And then up further here, which down back in here is where the goats currently are. I'm going to basically extend their pasture up this way to, it'll probably almost triple their pasture space to bring them up the hillside here, which on camera, it's very hard to tell what's going on just because of the fact that everything kind of looks the same. But so this whole area up in here where there's not very many trees, that's going to be where the goats are going to have additional pasture space. So in that way they can take advantage of all of the blackberry bushes, the multiflora rows, all that stuff that's back there. And also they will go crazy for all of the dead leaves that are on the ground. Goats eat pretty much the same thing as deer, which still kind of like, why didn't I just start doing this to begin with? Because right back in here is where all the deer run through in this area back here. So I don't know. I guess it's one of those things that, you know, when it hits you, I suppose. But, you know, it is what it is. I definitely gotta move things around, gotta change the design to make this land work better for what we're trying to do, because as it is right now, we are only able to properly utilize about 3/4 of an acre of property here, and there's 2 whole acres that, you know, with just some creativity and a little bit harder work to do, we could run a lot of pasture up in this area and greatly cut down our feed bill. Hay is very expensive, so right now we're going through about a bale a day to keep 10 goats going. So that is not very sustainable. I'd much rather do the few days of very hard work and, you know, spend a bunch of money on fencing stuff than continuously for the rest of our existence have to buy a bale of hay a day, because that gets very tiring to transport all of that and to do all that. But so anyways, homestead design is from here back to the end of the property, which I would say is probably about 100 feet past me, maybe more. I'm terrible at guesstimating just by looking at things. But so if we were looking at the property from an above ground aerial shot, this is about a half an acre area back in here, that, you know, goes all the way up and then all the way down to the pines back down in there, which really hard to see on camera. But so that area is going to be left open, left wild, and then the area that is from the pathway here up is going to also be left wild. So we're just basically going to have a big L shape at the back part of the property that's going to be left pretty well wild. And then from the path here down is essentially going to be goat area. So then that way there's more room, there's more space, and then it also makes it so that way the very valuable flat, moist land that we have, we can actually use it to grow things that we need to use that space for. Because there's really not much that'll grow on a very steep north-facing slope that is fully wooded, except for, you know, mushrooms, which we plan on doing some of them in the left wild area. That wild area back there, we also will make it so then that way our ducks, geese, and turkeys cannot go back there, because this year there has been 0 harvestable wild mushrooms in our woods because of the fact that the ducks and geese keep getting them before I can get them. Plus our turkeys, part of having breeds that are really good at foraging is also understanding that they are going to forage on other people's land, which thankfully our neighbors that are touching us, they don't care if our birds go up into their woods, which is fantastic, but I don't want that to keep going on. So we definitely are going to work on making it so that way they only have limited access in the woods, so they're not traipsing over the property line and, you know, going and stealing everybody else's feed, because that's just not good animal husbandry practices. So anyways, that is it for today. I have some more chainsawing to do. I was actually just filming while I was taking a break because, well, I need a break. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about changing the design layout. And also let me know if there's things that you've noticed that kind of, you know, might be a helpful tip to change things around, or if you've had to move things on your homestead, what was kind of one of those things where you were like, wow, why didn't I think of this sooner? Because, you know, somebody might benefit from it. So anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.